The power of silence, unveiling a Stoic superpower. Hey, Stoic warrior. Have you ever noticed how much of our world revolves around proving ourselves? People are constantly trying to prove they're right, they're worthy. They explain endlessly, and sometimes they even beg for validation just to be seen. But here's the truth, the Stoic doesn't do any of that. A Stoic doesn't beg for attention. They don't chase validation. They don't feel the need to explain themselves to the world because they understand something powerful. Silence is strength. Now picture this. You're hurt, rejected, or misunderstood. What's the usual instinct? To rush, to chase, to fix what's broken by explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand. And that right there is a weakness disguised as courage. Have you ever called someone only for them not to pick up? So you text again, then send another message pouring your heart out in a long paragraph, hoping they'll finally see your worth. But here's the hard truth. The more you explain, the more you beg, the more power you lose, and that's not Stoic. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus mastered the power of silence, not because they didn't care, but because they understood this crucial principle. The more you value things outside your control, the less control you actually have. Epictetus said, when you chase someone's attention or beg for their understanding, you're handing over control. You're saying, my peace depends on how you respond. But that's not peace. That's a prison. Real strength. It's when someone disrespects you and instead of reacting, you walk away without a word, not out of pride, but because your dignity doesn't scream, chase, or explain. It silently detaches. This silence isn't emptiness. It's discipline. It's self-respect. It's inner strength. It says, I don't need to be heard by you to hear myself. And here's where it gets powerful. This silence terrifies people. Why? Because when you don't react, they lose the control they thought they had over you. So today, let's dive into the kind of silence that builds power, not weakness. The kind of silence that makes people wonder, what changed? The kind that lets your absence speak louder than any message you could ever send. We're going to explore 6 profound truths about why silence is a Stoic superpower and why those who practice it never need to chase, beg, or explain themselves. Are you tired of overgiving? Have you been misunderstood? Have you ever chased someone who simply walked away from you? If so, this is your moment to shift. Let this message be the reminder you didn't even know you needed. Before we dive into the first point, I've got a small favor to ask. If this video resonates with you, like it. Share your thoughts and affirmations as we go along in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom. Most importantly, don't skip any part of this video. Why? Because one simple truth, one idea might just change how you carry yourself from here on out. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. Number 1, silence makes them feel your absence, not just hear your words. Have you ever noticed something strange when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop chasing people? Suddenly they begin to think. That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. Now think back to the last time you were hurt. Maybe someone ghosted you, disrespected you, or gave you the cold shoulder. Your instinct probably screamed, say something, fight back. But what if instead you did nothing? What if your silence became your statement? It's in this moment that you'll feel the true power of silence. Remember, silence speaks louder than words. Let's dive deeper into why this is true. When you're hurt or misunderstood, it's natural to feel the urge to defend your worth, right? You might think, if I just explain myself one more time, they'll get it. But here's the paradox. The more you talk, the less they listen. The more you chase, the further they run. The more you explain, the less they value your words. But here's the twist when you stop talking. When you go silent, suddenly, they start to notice your absence more than they ever noticed your presence. Silence has a power that words can't match. As Elbert Hubbard once said, "He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words." The Stoics understood this centuries ago because they knew that silence makes people uncomfortable in ways noise never can. Think about it when you go silent on someone who expected you to beg for their attention. When you withdraw instead of reacting, you force them to confront something deeper, their own actions. Silence holds up a mirror to their behavior. It says, "I saw what you did. I felt how you treated me, but I value myself too much to explain it to you." And this kind of silence doesn't come from ego. It comes from clarity. You realize that if they truly cared, they would ask. If they respected you, they would reach out. If they were emotionally mature, they wouldn't need a long paragraph to understand your worth. So you stay silent. And in that silence, you reclaim all the power you once gave away. You stop wasting energy trying to be understood by people who don't even understand themselves. You stop trying to heal through conversation because some wounds heal better in silence. Yes, silence can feel uncomfortable. It will trigger them. It will confuse them. They'll start asking, why isn't he reacting? Why didn't she respond? Did they stop caring? That's when the power shifts. Because in that silence you speak one truth they can't ignore. You don't owe them an explanation anymore. Number 2, when you stay silent, you hear the truth louder. The world is a loud place. But silence helps you listen not to others, but to yourself. In moments of heartbreak, betrayal, or confusion, most people rush to others for advice, validation, or a temporary emotional fix. They'll call 5 friends, scroll endlessly on social media, or confront the person who hurt them, hoping that a conversation will heal the wound. But the Stoic does something radically different. They go silent. Not because they don't feel pain, but because they know that real answers don't come from noise, they come from reflection. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you embrace silence, truly embrace it, your mind starts to calm. And when your mind calms down, the truth begins to rise to the surface. You'll start to hear things like, "They never really respected me. I just didn't want to accept it. I'm not angry because they left. I'm angry because I stayed too long. I don't need closure. I need peace." These aren't truths you'll find in a text message or a long conversation. They come in the quiet hours when you stop explaining and start listening. Silence gives you the space to separate your emotions from your values. When you're hurt, your emotions scream. Chase them. Explain yourself. Prove your worth. But when you're silent, your values whisper. Hold your dignity. Protect your peace. Let them go. This is why the Stoics didn't react impulsively. They didn't make decisions in anger. They embraced a kind of sacred stillness, a pause before the storm. Modern society teaches the opposite, but the Stoics knew that true power comes from within, and sometimes the greatest strength is found in silence. As we've seen, silence is not just about withholding words, it's about power, purpose, and self-respect. Let's dive into the next truth about the strength silence brings. We've all heard it before. Speak your mind. Tell them how you feel. Don't let anyone disrespect you. But here's what most people miss. You don't gain respect by reacting louder. You gain it by staying grounded in silence, especially when everyone around you is spiraling in noise. The more silent you are, the more people reveal their true selves. You don't have to ask, do they care? Their actions will tell you everything you need to know. You don't have to beg for clarity because the truth always comes out in your stillness. And most importantly, when you stop reacting to life and start responding with purpose, that's when the shift happens. Silence isn't passive. It's not about being still for the sake of it. No, silence is focused. It's intentional. It's the doorway to inner wisdom, the wisdom that most people never walk through. So when you feel unsure, overwhelmed, or your emotions cloud your judgment, don't act impulsively. Be still. The answers aren't out there, they're inside you, and you'll hear them more clearly in the silence. Number 3, begging for closure is a form of self-betrayal. Let's talk about something many people never admit. Begging for closure often leads to more pain, not peace. We all crave it. The final explanation, that one honest conversation, the closure that makes everything feel complete. But here's the brutal truth. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to beg for closure. They would offer it to you with respect. And if they don't, your silence is the closure. When you stop chasing closure and start embodying your values, you stop needing other people to validate your pain. Yes, the pain is real, but needing them to explain why they hurt you, that's where you give them control over your healing. Here's the cycle. 1, they hurt you. 2, you demand answers. 3, they respond with coldness or avoidance. 4, you feel even worse, and the cycle repeats. Until one day you realize the truth. Closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. When you finally go silent and walk away, it's easy to convince yourself that one more conversation, one last talk will fix everything. But here's the reality. You're talking to someone who has already made peace with hurting you. You're explaining yourself to someone who has already made their choice. You end up wasting energy hoping that someone else will fix your broken expectations. That's not closure. That's self-abandonment. The Stoics knew that emotions could cloud judgment, especially when ego is involved. You want to be seen as the good one. You want to be understood. You want them to finally get it. But chasing this need for validation is a betrayal of your own growth. Real closure happens when you recognize that what they gave you was the most they could give. You accept that no amount of explanation will make them more respectful, more loving, or more honest. You stop waiting for a conversation that will never happen, and in that acceptance, your power returns. The people who hurt you don't need to understand your worth. You understand your worth. The people who left don't need to say goodbye. You can say it without a word. The people who ghosted don't need a second chance. Your silence is their answer. So stop writing those unsent letters. Stop rehearsing the perfect message. Stop chasing closure from people who were never open in the first place. Go silent. Let your silence be the space where self-respect finally breathes again. Number 4. Silence exposes what words try to hide. When you go silent, something powerful happens. Masks fall off. Words can be beautiful, but they can also be deceptive. People say what sounds right. They say what they think you want to hear. They use explanations, justifications, and apologies. But silence can't lie. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. They didn't judge a person by their apologies. They judged them by their patterns. And the best way to understand someone's true intentions, watch what they do not, what they say. When you stop filling the space with words, the actions and the truth speak for themselves. To see someone's pattern is to stop talking and watch, because silence is not passive, it's observant. When you stop explaining yourself, you give people space to reveal their real nature. And trust me, they will. The one who truly respects you will miss your presence and reach out with honesty. The one who only used you will vanish because they never valued you in the first place. The one who manipulated you will grow angry or confused, not because you did something wrong, but because they lost control. Here's what most people don't realize. Words can create illusion. Silence reveals reality. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to test them. Just withdraw your words and see who checks in when you're quiet. See who disappears when you stop giving. See who gets frustrated when they can't provoke a reaction out of you. That's the truth, and it's brutal but necessary. Sometimes silence hurts more than 1,000 confrontations, because people can dismiss your words, but they can't dismiss your absence. They can argue with your opinions, but they can't argue with your stillness when you stay quiet. You stop feeding their illusion. You stop playing their emotional games. You stop pretending that their words mean more than their actions. And this kind of silence, it brings you clarity. You stop needing people to explain why they treated you badly, because their silence, their distance, their actions, they already did. You start trusting patterns over promises. You start believing energy over explanations. You begin to value what's real, not what's spoken. That's Stoicism. It's not cold, it's clear, it's not distant, it's discerning, it's not emotionless, it's emotionally disciplined. So the next time someone tries to talk their way back into your life, don't rush to respond. Observe, go silent, and let the truth speak without words. Number 5. Not explaining yourself is the highest form of confidence. Let's be honest, when someone misunderstands you, it hurts. You want to defend yourself. You want to explain why you're not what they think. You want to say, that's not me. But the Stoic doesn't chase understanding from others. He seeks understanding within himself. Why? Because explaining yourself to people who already made up their minds is not confidence, it's fear of being misjudged. Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Marcus Aurelius, think about that every time you try to convince someone of your worth, your goodness, or your loyalty. You're spending your limited time and energy on someone else's judgment. That's not power, that's insecurity. The person who doesn't explain himself is not arrogant. He's at peace because he knows his intentions are clean. His actions are aligned. His value doesn't need to be translated to those who don't care to understand it. This level of detachment isn't easy. You'll be called cold. You'll be labeled selfish. You might even lose people who once felt close to you. But guess what? Losing people who never truly saw you is not a loss, it's alignment. Here's the truth. No one wants to admit most people don't want to understand you, they want. As we've seen, silence isn't just about holding back words, it's about setting boundaries and reclaiming your power. Let's continue exploring the profound truths of Stoic silence. When you embrace silence, you begin to notice something powerful. You stop trying to control how others perceive you. And here's the twist. If your silence shatters their illusion of control, they get angry. But not because you hurt them. No, they're angry because you stopped playing their game. When you stop explaining yourself, you start leading with your energy. You no longer justify your distance. You don't explain why you walked away or defend your peace. You simply act. Those who are meant to stay in your life will understand that silence without needing subtitles. This kind of energy is rare. It's unsettling to others, especially to manipulators and users. It makes them lose interest. But the people who remain, they respect you deeply because they know you won't lower your value just to fit someone else's misunderstanding. That, my friend, is stoic. Silence, not loud, not desperate, not theatrical, just calm, rooted, and unshakable. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing peace. You don't need to convince anyone that your boundary is valid. You don't have to speak your value into rooms where your silence has already said it all. Number 6, your detachment in silence is what teaches them the lesson. There's something uniquely powerful about someone who chooses to walk away, not in anger, not in drama, but in quiet detachment. You don't slam the door. You don't send a final emotional message. You simply leave, and in that silence, you teach a lesson that words never could. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. This quote speaks volumes. The real suffering, the true pain, begins when the mind starts replaying your silence. When you stop responding, they're left alone with their thoughts, with their guilt, with their memory of how they treated you, with the echo of your absence. Your detachment speaks a clear message: I no longer need to prove myself to you. I will not stay where I am not respected. I've realized that peace is more valuable than connection. Most people don't know how to handle this kind of energy. They're used to people who react, who beg, who fight for closure, who break down just to be heard. But when you go silent, you stop playing the emotional game. You exit with dignity, and your silence forces them to confront themselves. They expect you to chase them, to fight, to stay, to come back. But you don't. And that scares them more than any argument ever could. Why? Because suddenly they realize they no longer have access to your energy. They don't have the upper hand anymore. They didn't think you'd really walk away. That's when the lesson begins. People don't learn from words, they learn from distance. They don't change when you scream, "Respect me." They change, if ever, when your absence makes them realize what they lost. And if they don't get it, that's okay. The lesson wasn't for them. It was for you. In that silence, you learn that your peace doesn't need permission. You learn that not everyone deserves an explanation. You realize that sometimes silence isn't just strength, it's healing. When you detach in silence, you remove yourself from toxic patterns. You stop bleeding in front of people who can't understand your pain. You stop explaining your storms to those who live indoors. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care too much about your own soul to keep it in a space where it's being neglected. That's why the Stoics didn't react impulsively. They didn't chase justice. They didn't seek validation. They let their silence speak for them. You don't have to yell, "I'm done." You can just be done. And that, my friend, is real power. That's the kind of silence that terrifies the people who thought they had control over you. So don't be afraid to detach. Detach. Go quiet. Let them sit in the space where your voice used to be. If you've made it this far, you already feel the shift. You've heard the lesson, and now you know that silence is not just an absence, it's a presence, a force. Let it lead the way. As we've seen, silence is not just about holding back. It's a profound choice that shapes your peace and power. Let's finish this journey with one final truth. There's a shift happening inside you right now. It's quiet, almost subtle, but it's a realization, a truth you've always known deep down, but perhaps forgot along the way. You don't have to chase, beg, or explain yourself to be worthy. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't have to prove your side to be understood. And most importantly, you don't have to break your own peace just to keep someone else comfortable. That, my friend, is the foundation of Stoicism. It's not about coldness. It's not about shutting yourself off from love. It's about clarity. It's not about detachment from people, but about detachment from chaos. The Stoics taught us something profoundly powerful. Silence is not weakness, it's control. It's the refusal to waste energy on things that are beneath you. It's the confidence to know that your presence is valuable even when you're not there. There will always be moments where your emotions will want to take over. You'll feel the urge to explain, to fight, to prove your worth. But in those moments, remember this: your silence might not win the argument, but it will win you back. Because every time you choose not to react, you build inner peace. Every time you walk away quietly, you build self-worth. Every time you maintain your dignity, you build the kind of power that can never be stolen from you. And if there's one thing to take from this entire video, it's this: let your silence be your final word. Not out of ego, not out of spite, but out of deep, unshakable self-respect. Thank you for watching. If this video resonated with you, like it, now share it with someone you know who's ready to grow, and leave your affirmations in the comments below. Your voice matters here. Don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic wisdom every week. Finally, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments: my silence is my last word and my most powerful one.